All right, welcome. It is Wednesday night, 9 p.m., and it's time for Food Addiction Fair and Firm. And I'm just thinking, I'm wondering how long, look at my hair, my yoga head. I'm wondering how long we've been doing this. I'm thinking it's been a minute, right? I'm so excited that we are still doing Food Addiction Fair and Firm because it's a great thing that we can do together. Because so many of us struggle with so many things, right? Hey guys, good to see you. All right, and I love what we're going to be talking about tonight. And one of the people who oftentimes is here shared this with me, and I love it. And it's we're just going to go through this kind of line by line because I just thought it was so powerful and fit in terms of food addiction and recovery that thank you, Michaela. I am too. You know what? I am too. Uh, and I will always do this for free. And you know, I just think this is this is my 12th step, right? This is oh my God. This is my 12th step work. It's my giving back what I was given. And I just find that really important to my life. So, yay. All right. So, Donna, I don't know if you're here yet or not. Um, Donna shared this with me, and we're going to go over it line by line. All right. Remembering that the first line of this really is kind of the bottom line. Hurt people, right? Most addicts have been hurt in some ways. Somewhere along the line, if you, like me, use a substance or a behavior in a way to kind of deal with either not liking yourself or being angry with yourself or emotions related to things you've been hurt by in the past, or however you got to addiction. I've never met anybody who is an addict who hasn't been hurt in some pretty significant ways. And most often, that hurt, whatever happened that led to hurt, lives out in shame, right? It's shame. I'm not good enough. I don't like me. I'm a bad person, or I'm not good enough, or I don't belong, or I don't fit in. Most addicts feel some of that and experience some of that thinking and those feelings. So we are hurt people, right? Addicts are hurt people. There's no way around it. And that rigorous honesty of looking at the reality of your life means looking at how you were hurt. We don't want to look at how we were hurt because then we have to admit probably that people we know and love have hurt us in some ways, whether it was intentional or unintentional. And I want to remind you that most often, many times it's unintentionally. Doesn't mean you weren't hurt though, right? Yes, our unhealthy behaviors are our ways of coping. Our addictive behaviors. Sorry, let me try to shut that off. I left that noise on because my little baby girl. Oh, no, 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 no. Now it's looking for my phone, for God's sake. Okay. All right. I needed to be able to have my daughter call me if she needed to about the baby. Anyway, so hurt people hurt people. So that means I'm an addict, right? That means in my active addiction, and even not in my active addiction, in my recovery, I hurt people. I hurt people. I hurt people much less often now, I think, than I did in the past. And some of that is I'm aware of, right? I'm aware that I'll say something snarky to my husband, or, be sarcastic with one of my children, or whatever it is, right? So I hurt people sometimes, but in the past, I hurt people a lot of times. When I was active in my addiction, I hurt a lot of people. which reflected my level of hurt. I was hurt. I was angry. I didn't like myself. I didn't like a lot of stuff, right? So, hurt people hurt people. So, we want to quit hurting people. And one of those people we want to quit hurting is ourselves. Because in our adult lives, the truth is, for most people, not for all, but for most people, we hurt ourselves more than anybody else does at this point in time. And we hurt ourselves with excess alcohol, and we hurt ourselves with excess food, and we hurt ourselves with excess weight, and we hurt ourselves with excess exercise, and we hurt ourselves with excess, you know, self-will. We hurt ourselves with excess selfishness, excess ego. We hurt ourselves with self-talk, right? So hurt people hurt people. Hi, Don. Welcome to LA. Have fun at Obesity Help. So hurt people hurt people. If you quit hurting yourself, you'll be less hurt, and you'll quit hurting other people as much. That is truth. If we quit hurting ourselves, we will be less hurt. If we quit hurting ourselves, we're going to feel better. We're not going to engage in as much addictive behavior. We're not going to treat other people as badly as we do. And when I say badly, it might just be not being fully present. Doesn't mean we're slapping the crap out of people or we're, calling names all the time. But it means when we're in active addiction, we're pretty self-focused, and then we hurt people. All right. And sometimes I hurt people unintentionally, right? Because I don't know what people's buttons are, or I don't know what their vulnerable spots are. So I may say something off the cuff and somebody's really offended or hurt by it. I didn't mean to, right? You may hurt people sometimes unintentionally. That's a topic for another day. All right. But hurt people, and that's how the pain patterns get passed on generation after generation. Hello. Shit rolls downhill, right? So think back many generations ago, and sometimes, I think we really have to look at this. If we're thinking back to the Civil War and the Industrial Revolution and looking at our country's history, not just our parents' personal history and their parents, but think about the demands on people. They didn't have time to deal with feelings. They didn't have time to deal with, making them, people were working 2 and 3 jobs. People were off at war. Men and women were both working like crazy people to keep a roof over their children's heads. And sometimes that led to neglect, not intentional, but because they didn't have anything left to give, right? So maybe that generation, taught their children to work too much, or maybe the parents in those difficult situations were short-fused because they were so freaking exhausted. And so they taught their children short-fusedness, poor anger management skills, or maybe they were hungry and, because there wasn't enough during the Depression and all of those things. So the ways they coped, they taught their children to cope. So some of that is just, the culture of our country being passed down. Others of it is, child abuse and spousal abuse. If you were the man of the family years and years and years ago, your family was your property and you could treat them any way you wanted to, right? And if you're a woman married to a man who thought, that beating you to keep you in line, now you're angry. Who are you going to take it out on? Maybe you're both taking it out on the kids. And so they learned that. But hurt people hurt people. So this is generational stuff. And you hear me say a lot of times things like, I think that most of our adult society doesn't have very healthy coping skills in terms of communication, in terms of, there's a lot of defensiveness and protectiveness going on out there in the world. And so I think we have a bunch of children that are grown adults who only know how to be protective, and that gets passed on. And so we don't have a very healthy culture, really. Yes, self-talk is probably the hardest way people continue to hurt themselves, right? But we can break the chain, and that's exactly the point here. We can break the chain. Somebody at some point in time has to go, this isn't right. Something about this isn't right. Somebody has to say, well, even though it's been done for generations, it's not okay. We've got to do it differently. You know, look at our country. We are in the middle of changing some things like, you know, sexual exploitation of women that were put up with 2 generations ago, or even my parents' generation, right? A pinch on the butt, or a, you know, dirty joke, or a, we're not putting up, people aren't putting up with that anymore, men and women alike. It's like, that's not right. Just because it was done for years and years and years and years doesn't mean it was okay, right? Oh, Jennifer, there's so much hope of being healthy. Absolutely, absolutely, there's hope, because so many people before you and me have said something's got to change. And so there's been changes made. In my family, my parents did better than their parents, which wasn't that great in some respects. In some ways, it was an amazing change, right? Even though my father, you know, he was an alcoholic and he had rage and all that stuff, I'll tell you what, he did a whole hell of a lot better than his parents did. He spent time with his children. He spent time with us, doing things with us, and that was a huge priority for him. Consequently, spending time with my family is huge to me. Spending time doing things with them, you know, being outside, boating, camping, even when we had absolutely no money, right? It didn't cost anything to go sit at the lake. You know, just spending time together is a huge change. And my father changed that, and we've improved on it even more. So somebody's got to say, this has got to change. And that can be you. And it can be me, you know? And I'm hoping that my children will do things in an even healthier way than I did, right? Another example is child abuse. There were laws in our country to protect animals before there were children. And so you still hear a lot, well, you know, I got whoopings and I deserved it. And, you know, children got to be disciplined. Well, guess what? Children do need to be disciplined, but it doesn't need to be physical discipline, because that hurts people. And guess what? Hurt people. It's true, right? So finding healthier ways. So every single one of us, every single day, has the opportunity to say, do I want to be a hurt person who keeps hurting people? Or do I want to be a hurt person who learns healthier ways and quits hurting myself and quits hurting others? Absolutely, right? Even a little bit every day. Absolutely, Dawn. Be the voice, break the chain. So, so, so true. Break the chain today. Okay, let's talk about some of these things, because these are difficult. And this is a tall order, my friends. And I want you to know, I sure as heck don't meet every one of these things consistently. But it's about putting forth consistent effort, right? And when we do it to a way that says, you know what, I could do better, then we say I could do better, and we put more effort into it. So let's talk about these things. And Donna and I talked about these at length, because I think it's just so beautiful. Yeah, Nancy, a lot of people grew up with that children should be seen and not heard. No, my God, children need to be heard. They're brilliant. They're beautiful. They're special. They're just amazing little people. And if we want to grow their self-esteem, then we listen to them and we hear them and we discipline them in healthy ways, because we're teaching them to be people who don't hurt people. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Break the chain today by doing these things. Meet anger with sympathy. How do most of us meet anger? We meet anger with anger, right? We meet anger with defensiveness. We meet anger with, hey, who do you think you are? You're not doing that to me. Or, hey, I can do one up on that. I can show you anger, buddy, right? So meet anger with sympathy. Sympathy for what? Sympathy for, good for you, Mary. Oh, God love you. And Nancy. Timeout chair. Absolutely. Okay, so meet anger with sympathy. Because you know what? What do you have? Why should I have sympathy for somebody who's raging, or sympathy for somebody who's coming at me in a bullying kind of way, or sympathy for somebody who's just, using childish forms of anger, manipulation, passive aggressive? I can have sympathy because I know that they are hurting. And I know that they very well may be ill-equipped and don't know healthier ways. Now, is that a hard damn thing to do? I think it is, especially the closer we are to the person who might be demonstrating anger. Because we want to defend ourselves, right? We want to say, hey, back off a minute. You need to hear the whole story. But if we can come at them with sympathy, like, I can tell something's really bothering you. You know what? I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing by your behavior that you've had a really rough day and something's bothering you. Right? So coming at people with sympathy, hard to do. First of all, we got to learn to do it, right? We got to learn those adulting things. We've got to learn not to react. We've got to learn what it means to meet anger with sympathy. How about contempt with compassion? Woo-wee! How about the people who are being contemptuous and angry and judgmental about religion or politics or a group of people or a person or an addict, for God's sake? Oh, those people, right? Meet that contention with compassion. That's a tough thing to do. But remember, things like contempt, typically, look at people's behavior and what message it sends, right? So if somebody is demonstrating contempt toward a group of people or a thing, or being really judgmental and angry about it, what does that tell you about them? So look at their behavior. I love natural consequences. They're the best. What does contempt tell you about that person? Well, either they have fear, right? Perhaps they have fear because they don't understand that particular group. Or maybe they have ignorance. And by ignorance, I mean they're uneducated or uninformed about that particular thing or that particular group or that particular stance or that particular whatever it is. So this is like a really good prayer, right? God, please help me to meet anger with sympathy, contempt with compassion. Because if we look at somebody's behavior and say, what does that tell me about them? Maybe they don't feel so good about themselves. Or maybe they don't have a healthier skill. Maybe they're ill-equipped. Maybe they're uninformed. Maybe they don't have all the facts. So what do I have to be pissed off about? Why do I have to meet them with anger? Because that's about me then, right? What's my issue? What got poked in me? Where is my shame coming from? Because when we react, it's because of our own issues. So we need to look at somebody who's behaving badly and go, behaving out of whatever issues they have. Now, we don't have to excuse it or accept it or put up with it. We can still say, when you yell at me, I'm not going to sit and talk with you, right? I'll be happy to talk about this when you can approach me in an appropriate way, right? We don't have to put up with it, but we can be compassionate. We can have sympathy. Meet cruelty with kindness. Oh my God. Cruelty with kindness. Now there's a tough one, right? So somebody's being cruel to a child, look out, because I'm coming at you with viciousness, which isn't going to get me anywhere, right? It's going to, and I did this one time not too long ago. I was in an Apple store and I was waiting for my turn with the Apple dude. And I'm sitting at the table and this woman comes in and she's got a little child with her. And she's, just being downright rude and mean and horrible to this little child, which has got me going already. Well, then she hauls off. It wasn't a swat. I mean, she started smacking the child. And I was just enraged. I did not meet that with any kind of compassion. I met it with equal contempt. Her behavior to me was cruel. And my behavior was not kind. And I just lashed out at her. I was like, lady, you lay one more hand on that kid and I'm calling the cops. And she of course lashes back with me and says, you don't know me and you don't know the situation here and yeah. And I looked at her dead in the eye and I was just enraged. And I looked at her in the eye and I'm sure fire was coming out of me. And I said, and you don't know me. Because I cannot stand cruelty, especially to children. And some people feel that way with animals. But if I had come at that with kindness, it could have had a different situation. Now I'm going to tell you something. I was so afraid when I left that I had the guy walk me out to my car because I'm like, she gonna come get me. My own fault, right? Because I reacted with cruelty and not kindness. I could have said to her, it can be so trying sometimes. I've been where you are. And you've heard those stories where people come at people who are being, they're frustrated. We've all been frustrated with our kids. My God, I was frustrated with my kids. And I'm sure I yelled at them in public. And lesson to self. Meet cruelty with kindness. Greet grimaces with smiles. So somebody gives you the evil eye or makes a face at you, like rolls their eyes at you. The defensive part of us wants to react, right? So if we can just smile or hug or love, I'm telling you, personal experience, when I'm at my worst, like if I'm having a childish fit, what I need the most is for my husband to put his arms around me and remind me that he loves me, but it's the last thing he feels like doing, right? And you know how children are different? One of my grandsons, when he feels misunderstood or not heard, and he goes into meltdown mode, because he's 3, I just know with that child what he needs is to put my arms around him and listen to him because he's not feeling heard, and it works every time. And so often with our kids and our grandkids, we're like, come on, I'm not putting up with that. Let's go, right? I'm guilty of that just like everybody else, right? All right. I love that. Counting to 10 and praying for God to guide my words. Absolutely. Forgive and forget about finding fault. It doesn't say forgive and forget. It says quit looking for fault. What difference does it make? Because a healthy adult says, what's my part? Not look what you did. And if you hadn't, I wouldn't have. Now this stuff is tough stuff. We're not gonna do this every day in every situation. We are human beings, which means we are very flawed. And if we've been hurt, we know how to hurt. And our defensiveness and our reactions are going to be about hurting, right? The closer we get to becoming a saint, we'll behave better. But I don't know any real saints walking on this earth. So until then, we strive to not hurt in response to hurt. We strive to be kind in response to unkindness. And every time we can accomplish that, we give gratitude, right? To people who have helped us work through our own issues, to, ourselves for counting to 10 and asking for the guidance for the words. Forgive and forget about finding fault. It does no good. The best and healthiest thing to do is say, listen, I'm sorry I came at you like that. Or listen, I'm sorry I responded like that. Let's try to start over so we don't have this ugly dance going. Right? Love is the weapon of the future. It's so hard to do though, right? It's so hard to love people when they're acting unlovingly. And it's real hard to love ourselves when we're acting unlovingly. So then we engage in that addictive behavior. So this meme, I think, is a great thing for us to keep working on. Like Nancy says, I'm working on it. I'm not doing well, but I keep trying. And that's what it's about, right? When we learned to ride our bike, we fell off, right? When we learned to ride roller skates, we fell down. But if we kept getting up and putting forth effort, we probably were able to at least stand on 2 feet. We maybe didn't get good at it, but we got good enough, you know, to be able to do it. So it's like that. We are learning new skills. And these skills, I'm telling you, are a whole lot more difficult than learning to ride a two-wheeler or learning to ride a skateboard. So, give yourself love. Quit hurting yourself. That's where it's got to start. By quit hurting yourself so much, you'll quit hurting others so much. And healthy people teach others to be healthy people. Loving people love people. Kind people are kind to people. Compassionate people are compassionate toward people. And not just words, actions. So onward and forward we go. But do remember, there is hope every single day of our lives, right? There's hope. If we're breathing, there's hope. Yes. So thank you guys for your comments. Thank you for participating. I will post this on YouTube. You know what? I'm behind. I'm going to post the last 4 tonight. I promise. Not going to bed till I do that. All right. I have an accountability partner here. I'm going to post these while we chat. All right, guys. Thank you. Donna, thank you for this wonderful meme. Totally fits in recovery. So, all right, guys, we're going to keep doing this together. And together, we will be healthy people who treat people in healthy ways, including ourselves. Good night, and thanks for joining.